We need a motion to come back, or we're good?
I'm sorry.
So we're good now, we can proceed on?
Yeah, you're ready.
Okay, all righty. Wanted to just, I guess, ask the council, we can call up several of the budget items and then just have a conversation there, or would you all?
I need to do a roll call, make sure who's on.
Okay, all righty.
Give me a second. Councilmember Abbott.
Present.
Councilmember Hilliard.
Aye.
Councilmember Hoyt.
Yes.
Councilmember Hoyt.
Here.
Councilmember O'Quinn.
Here.
Councilmember Smitherman.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Here.
Councilmember Woods.
Present.
Council President Pro Tem Alexander.
Here.
Council President Parker.
Here, okay.
All right.
All righty. Yesterday we had several questions that we said we would punt till today, and that was while we had the committee of the whole meeting noticed and ready to go, but we seemed to have breezed by that 10 o'clock. So we can call up item, if you like, call up item 2728, then allows us an opportunity to then have a conversation and to give more information on the follow-up from yesterday's meeting, that Councilor Abbott Budget and Finance meeting. Is that, we can kind of take it, if we need some additional information, we can always take another recess until we can get that information. So is that a good pathway forward for everybody? If we do 2728, that allows for conversations around capital and operating. Is everybody comfortable there? And we'll just kind of see how things go, and then we'll proceed accordingly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that?
Can you display the items?
Yeah, we will. You mean as far as we will vote on them separately? I was just trying to, I want us to be able to talk. If we have a question on capital and or operating, then we'll have the two items up, so we'll be able to talk. You know, if you have a question about capital, go ahead and call it up, just in case some people.
I ain't talking about today though, but like, how can I get it?
Lou, so we're just going to have discussions on 27 and 28 to be read, and then you want to vote on them separately. Is that correct, Councilor Hoyt, when we do get to that?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, but I just want to call both of them up. So if there are questions in either category, it would relate to either item. So we're all good with that, and we need additional information. Of course, we can, we need to take another recess, lunch break, we can, or we can, move forward with them. So, Mr. Clerk, if you can do items 27, 28 there, and then also, as we're working, there might be one or two additional addendums before we adjourn. So, but anyway, we'll get those to you as quickly as possible. So, Mr. Clark, if you can call up items 27, 28.
Item 27. An ordinance to adopt the general fund budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022, as presented by the mayor on May the 18th, 2021, with amendments. And you said 28. What did you say? I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. 28.
The purpose of this resolution is to acknowledge that at this time there are no recommendations for capital improvement projects except those recommended and funded in previous year's capital budget. So motions to get them before you.
All right, we need a motion for both of them for 27 and 28.
Mr.
Yeah, to
Chairman,
discuss.
Yes, sir.
before you move on that, so there were no suggested amendments to these budgets at all? I thought you all had a budget meeting on Friday.
No, what we're doing is we could take two paths. We could have gone to a committee of the whole to have additional conversations about the budget, or we could simply just call up these two items, which will allow us an opportunity to continue the conversation, to receive additional conversation questions, and it's a carryover from yesterday's budget and finance meeting. So that's why I'm saying
so are you suggesting that we pass it, not knowing what those
No, what I am suggesting is to be able, so that we can ask additional questions, comments, ask for additional information. That's why we are calling up 27 and 28 for capital and operating. The other choice was to go into a committee of the whole meeting, and we could have had a conversation about the overall budget. But it's the same, if we're going to be discussing the same items, 27 and 28 will give us that leadway to have a conversation about capital and operating. If there are going to be some amendments, there's things that we can talk about under those two items, which will give us, and then if we need some additional information, we can table it to the end of the meeting, we can delay it, we can pass it. I mean, we're just trying to get the protocol in place to be able to have a conversation about the operating and capital budgets.
I guess I'm still confused, and I might be the only one. Because I would like to understand what those proposed amendments are.
This is going to allow us an opportunity for Councilor Abbott. Yesterday, I think she had item number 29. There was some additional information that was discussed that we needed more time to seek additional information or allow that opportunity to happen. Councilor Abbott did ask Mr. Mitchell for additional information. That was just one series of questions. And so I then indicated that we had a committee of the whole meeting scheduled this morning where we could discuss further. But we breezed through that one. So it's the same thing. We're just gonna, 27, 28 gives us the opportunity to have a conversation, receive additional information. If we make amendments, we can do that utilizing items 27 and 28. If it's where we need additional time, then there are options that we can do with those items as well.
Listen, whatever the council decide, that's a lot of unknown. So,
Well, that's what we're going to be talking about. That's what we're going to be talking about, the operating and capital budgets. We're just calling up these items to do it. Or would you rather us go to a committee of the whole and then we talk about operating the fiscal years? That's.
Yeah. So much about this whole process is so different, Mr. Chairman, and whatever y'all do is fine, because I know how I'm gonna vote. Y'all can vote on it now. How are you gonna do it? Because there's, I hadn't seen the collective input, and I don't think we spend the time on it as we should have. But and we already said we were gonna go through the whole budget, and I don't know how you even deal with the budget as a city and not go through line item by line item. Yeah. So, but anyway, that's just me.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Clerk, items 27 and 28, are they before us?
No, I need a motion.
Okay, there's a motion, 27, 28.
So move, Mr. President.
Second. All right, now it's before you.
Okay, we're going to, let me ask Councilor Abbott, are you?
I'm here.
Okay, all right, you kind of want to, I know yesterday you kind of left off at your meeting, so let's just kind of dive into it, but you want to kind of frame it up?
Well, we have been through the operating budget, and council members had a number of questions, and the administration sent us all the answers to those questions, except some of the questions weren't answered. There were some blanks on there. So I would suppose that, I had two issues myself, and that was with the funding for the zoo and the funding for Rickwood Field, simply because, Well, because of both of those entities' situations. So I just wanted to hear if Mr. Mitchell had any responses to those questions, because I think that was right at the end of the meeting yesterday.
Eric, can you repeat that? I lost a little connection, if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
the questions yesterday regarding the funding for the zoo and the funding for Rickwood Field.
So, Counselor, for the zoo, I can speak that right now we're going to go ahead and give them what was contractually obligated to them. And I know that the administration is looking for a long-term solution for the zoo going forward. The same thing is pretty much the same thing for the Friends of the Rickwood Field. We're giving them what's contractually obligated, but we are working with them on certain aspects of the park. So, like, the city pays their water bill, which is averages around $65,000 to $7,000 a year. But I'm pretty sure we can get our sports and entertainment division to work with them to help promote them more, so they can have another revenue source.
Okay, but the question was that the mayor said that all entities were to return to their 2020 allocation, and that didn't happen for Rickwood Field.
So, Council, I can send you a spreadsheet of how we paid the Friends of Rickwood Field, because some of the disbursements may be a little bit misleading from what they may have told you, because we have given them a cash allowance, and then we use part of that money to offset the water bill at the.
Somehow we're giving them a gift when they're maintaining our asset that I assume Public Works would be over there maintaining if we didn't have this bunch of retired guys doing it. So,
Council, we understand that's a city asset, so is the zoo, and so is Vulcan, and we give them a lot of amount of money for them to do operations. So, we understand where you're coming from. So we will negotiate going forward with them if we need to amend the agreement.
okay, but we were told that all the entities were put back to their 2020 allocation, and that didn't happen for Rickwood. It was sort of an anomaly there.
So before that one, they did get a cash allowance of, I think 65,000, and then last year they got an allowance of 50, and that was based off the agreement that it was a 3-year agreement that was signed by the Friends of Rickwood Field for $50,000 for the next 3 years, respectively. And I can send you that agreement.
Yeah, I'd like to see that, because they were in 2020, they received $150,211. And then last year, of course, there was the big cut because of the pandemic. And then this year they've been given $50,000, which is different from $150,000. It's like $65,211 less. So yeah, if you can send me something that they signed and said they'd be fine with only $50,000 after receiving 3 times that much to maintain the building, I mean, that'll be very interesting.
Yes, ma'am. I'll send it to the council right now.
And I will
Well-
just say for members of the council who haven't been here as long as I have, which I guess is pretty much everybody, Councilor Hoyt's the closest, all along, so this is not new for me. And then the zoo, that's another thing, our major attraction in Birmingham, and we pretty much cut the living life out of them last year when we had a pandemic. But every one of those little animals and some big animals at that zoo insist on eating every single day, just like we do. So, my concerns are that we need to take care of our responsibilities and quit trying to cut them to the bone so that we can spend money elsewhere. To me, that's an issue. I may be the only one with it, but it's my issue.
Mr. President, can I speak to what Valerie just spoke about?
Okay, hold on. What'd you say, Councilor Hoyt?
No, I had asked to speak. I was trying to speak when she was speaking.
Okay,
But,
so
I acquiesce to Councilor Williams. I mean, he's my friend.
okay. So we go Councilor Williams and Councilor Hoyt. Council.
Thank you, Dr. Boyd.
Today.
Well, I'll take any day I can get.
At
Hey,
this hour, at this hour, at this hour, at this hour.
so to Councilor Abbott's point, I know we've had conversations about the zoo, and that there are 3 contracts, and we've talked about this in our committee meetings. Where are we on the contract about the sales tax rebatement that it's at 180 right now? We want to see if they can get to the full amount of sales tax that they produce for the city of Birmingham.
So, Council, so with that agreement, they submitted the invoice. Finances is coming through. It's just to verify the sales and use tax for, actually, they submitted for 2019. Preliminary results have it at $153,000 that will be remitted back to them of the 180 that is capped at. So once finance verifies all the sales and use tax, that item will come before the council for disbursement. But that was just for 2019. So of course we're in the middle of 2020. They have to submit that also to us for verification.
So do we know how much that they produced in sales tax in 2020?
I wouldn't know because they probably were closed most of the time for the pandemic.
Okay. Well, I'd like to echo Councilor Abbott's sentiments. We have to find, the zoo is one of the most visited places in the entire state of Alabama. I believe it's ranked 2 or 3. I can't remember. But we have to find a way to support them. That is a huge economic revenue producer for the city of Birmingham, bringing in literally thousands of visitors from all over the state of Alabama. So how can we get to a position where we are and I understand that we have a contractual agreement, or 3 contractual agreements with the zoo, but how can we get to where we're supporting them more, Mr. Mitchell?
I think it's just part of the administration and the mayor having a conversation. I think he's currently having one with the leadership up at the zoo to find a long-term solution to supporting the zoo.
Okay. So I guess where are we with the conversation then? That's my question.
Well, I think the agreement that you're speaking to expires in October. So of course, once that expires, then we will come for the council with another type of agreement. But as of right now, the current agreement that's going to be allocated to them will give them $500,000.
Which is insufficient.
Yeah, so let's talk about that agreement that expires in October then, because I think that we all know with the operations of the zoo that $500,000 is not a sufficient amount of money. We're spending in this budget almost $1.3 million for a 4-hour football game. But we're going to give the zoo $500,000. So how can we get to a level of funding that the zoo can continue its operations if the agreements come up in October, which will be in the middle or after the first quarter of our fiscal year, can those agreements, when they are reworked and renegotiated and come to fruition in October, can they also come out of this fiscal year?
Can't commit anything out of this current fiscal year. Of course, like we always do when we look at, hopefully, mid-year, we can try and look at that as a funding source. I think the zoo did apply for ARP funding, so of course we can look at that as an option. Like I said, with the new agreement, once that expires, we'll have to come before the council for a new agreement going forward.
So to answer my question, it would not, like, we would have to look at mid-year.
As we do most of a lot of things that we do.
All right, Valerie.
Yeah, I'm not really satisfied with that response, and I'll tell you why. There is not one person on this council nor in the mayor's office right now that is guaranteed to come back here. So putting this off and saying we'll look at it in October when we haven't allocated sufficient money. I mean, we're allocating $500,000. Where would we get any more money in October to give them? Well, as Councilor Williams just said, then we'd be looking at the mid-year, which the mid-year is always after the end of March, because mid-year doesn't really mean mid-year. So not only might all of us be somewhere else and some new people sitting here, but, I mean, I would like a commitment. Like maybe we could use the $500,000 we used to pay UAB to play at Legion Field. There's money out here. When people in the administration want to do things, by golly, the money is there. It suddenly is found in the bottom drawer of the desk or underneath it with the dust bunnies. I mean, when somebody wants to do something, we always find the money. Always. If there's a hot new football game coming along, we'll find some money for it. But our zoo, which is our major attraction in Birmingham,
A losing
we're
football
saying
game.
that I don't have anything against football, but I'm saying this is our major attraction that we own. I doubt we could find a buyer if we wanted to sell it. So I just think that we need to take care of it, and we're not doing it in this budget. And I have an issue.
President Parker, I know there are plans to vote on the budget today, and I do agree we do need to help the zoo out. But the problem is we need to look within the budget to see if there's a possibility we can move money around to give the zoo more money. And we haven't done that this process. I remember last year, we did that, and that was, I don't know if it was because we were in person, but we went through line item through line item, and we asked each counselor, is there any place in the budget where you want to take money away or you want to add money to? So I guess I'm just asking if we will have an opportunity to do that for items such as the zoo.
Can you hear me now? You can hear me now?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes, sir, Mr. President. We can hear you
Okay.
very well.
And I'm sorry, Councilor Smithman, I think the process now is we're just trying to the follow-up from yesterday's budget and finance meeting. So if there's some, if we need to ask some additional questions, and perhaps then we could recess, lunch break, come back, later on. That's why I told everybody yesterday or last evening, it might be a long day. So it truly could be a long day. But if there are some additional questions, comments, then I think we'll just try to work through that, throughout, as the day progresses. I know, if we need to try to say, okay, hey, the zoo, if that's a request, then let's go ahead and make that an item that we need to get some feedback from, and let's just put together some things. And as we move along in the meeting today, does that answer it? So obviously the zoo, a request. I think Councilor Abbott has a request. Let's just let everybody talk, but also make a list of things that we would need to maybe have some follow-up conversations as the day progresses along. Is that okay? Okay, all righty. Okay, Councilor Hoyt.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
I know that we've been doing stuff on with Zoom and now WebEx, what have you. This is serious business that we've been asked to undertake. And I think it warrants sitting in a room together and putting our minds in our efforts towards trying to figure out about this budget. And we just not had it. I mean, everything has been kicked down the road, kicked down the road, kicked down the road. And I've had my shots. I think most of us had our shots. You know, it's really, I don't think it's fair to the citizens that we've not really had a collective, and I think we need to be in person. Everybody I see out, whether they're on the council or in the mayor's office, they out doing stuff. So we need to have a meeting, an in-person meeting, to sit down collectively and have a discussion about this. I think Council Smitham is right. You know, we started a process, and that's the process in which we've employed in the 16 years that I've been on this council. And I don't think this year should be any different. And I think it even further necessitate that we sit down collectively and go through this, because we've experienced a pandemic, and there are a lot of things that we know about, and there are a lot of nuances. And I just think it behooves us to do that. You know, and I just, and maybe people don't want to, but maybe that's by design. I don't know. I don't have a dog in the fight, but I just think we owe it to the citizens to sit down and have a collective understanding of what we've been asked to do. And I don't think we can get that done unless we come together. Because this electronic stuff is burdening most of us, really. So that's my point. Because I don't feel comfortable in voting on something that I know, and I hadn't heard from everybody as to what their concerns are, their real concerns.
Okay. All righty. The other council members that need to address questions, follow-up questions.
President.
Hey, hold on, Council Hoyt, maybe if you were off the phone, you could hear the information that's being discussed. Okay, thank you.
Please, sir.
All right,
They
Council
didn't know we
Hilliard.
were still in council meeting.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate that. And unfortunately, I didn't make the meeting the other day, but I understand that we're talking about the zoo. And of course, the zoo is a very important piece, but when I look at the Port Authority, we have not addressed it, which brings would bring us a lot of future opportunities to our city. It's really not been addressed and funded well over the last since I've been here. But they have made some strides because they did get a large grant, and they were able to really take that grant and make some things possible. But they need real funding so they could be a real port authority. Also, with the World Trade Center, most port authorities and trade centers in a lot of cities are looped together, but here is separate. We have not really addressed that, which will open us up opportunities to around the world, and which will put Birmingham on the map. We've paid for the license. I think that's all in the budget now, is to pay for the license. But there's been no real effort, even though I have been told that we were going to do this, we we're going to do that. We throw a little money here, a little money there. So while we look at that, and then I think there needs to be future plans on the zoo. I think the zoo, I would love to have a safari. I would love to have a drive-through safari for the zoo someday that people could drive through. We need to look throughout our city and see where do we have open land and a place where we could have a drive-through open safari zoo. I don't say we have to plan that for now, but at least it should be on the minds of that where the zoo sits is probably the most valuable piece of real estate we own in the city. There's a lot of opportunity that could help Birmingham and its tax base there. So for best practices, I think we need to think ahead of time But I, for one, would like to see us grow our port. I would like to see us grow our World Trade Center and grow it and make something happen with that. And we have not addressed that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, are there others that has not spoken yet? Okay. All right, so what I am hearing is basically we need some additional questions or conversations around a couple of items. We want to get that list together. Let's submit it, or let's verbally talk through it. Let's perhaps allow the administration an opportunity to respond back, or we can use this as an opportunity to, you know, take a break and come back in a little while. Have
Mr.
some further
President,
discussions. Who's that? Hello?
that's Hoyt.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think we're missing it. You know, this budget requires that we go through it line item by line item. That
Okay.
has not happened. And unless that happens, then we don't have a true process here. And this will be the first year that I've been on council that we've not had that process, gone through that process.
Okay. Well, Councilor Abbott, I think, has had probably 3-4 meetings. So I think as far as having the conversation, I know last Tuesday, Friday, and then this past Monday, and then before that, had the first initial public hearing. So the question is, where are there areas, just like Councilor Abbott has indicated, the Birmingham Zoo, and then Councilor Harries mentioned the Port Authority. Are there some other areas that we need to explore more? Do we need to from all of the council members? So that's where we are at this point. Is finding those areas that we need to focus on. So do you have any additional, Councilor Hoyt, outside the zoo, the Port Authority? I know you mentioned Boys and Girls Club.
I mentioned a whole lot, and my answers to my questions were not answered. You know,
Okay.
to the
So
full
let's,
extent. I mean,
okay.
you know, these have been half answers or not answered at all. So
Okay.
you know,
Let's,
and listen, and I don't, you know, my time is important like any other council. And I didn't meet on Friday because I didn't think the process was the way it should have been. And so you know, I don't want to be insulted, and I don't want to insult anybody. And so, you know, we skate around a whole lot of stuff, and I don't know what's so bad about coming together and meeting and sitting down and going over your city's budget, a $455 million budget.
Councilor Hoyt, we're coming back in session. So here's where we are. What are the issues that you have concerns about that we need to focus on? Is it the Boys and Girls Club? Do I need to ask Councilor Abbott? Can she go back through the question and answer that was answered in red? Councilor Abbott, do you have those on the operating that you could, we could go back through and have some additional question and answer on?
So are you talking about the responses that we all received from Chaz Mitchell to the questions that were put together by the council at the operating budget meeting? Is that?
Yes, operating. Yes, ma'am. So were there, can we let's talk through those, and were all of those questions, do we need additional information from those questions? And I know you started yesterday, and I think we just punted it till today. So
Well,
are
on
there
the
some other
operating
areas?
budget, I'm looking for it right now on my iPad, but you know, there were a few questions there were no responses on them. But there were a litany of questions that not only were there responses, but there were links for us to go and look at all the streets that are going to be paved, all the sidewalks that are going to be fixed. I mean, we actually got information, particularly from Mr. Fowler, things that I had never heard before in my life. I was pretty impressed to actually find out what's going on in Birmingham. But we all received it. But the thing is, it was a lot of information, and it takes a long time to go through it. And some of us still haven't finished going through it, and some of us haven't looked at it yet at all. So each person has their own individual situation, and we all know that if we want to make changes to the budget, the mayor has to agree. Now, Councilor Hoyt says, well, we can just refuse to, pass the budget and he'll get the message. But that Oliver Robinson modification to the Mayor Council Act did have an impact. And we can no longer just go through and change the budget like we used to do. So, but all of us received the answers from Mr. Mitchell. And yes, there were some questions that were not answered.
Okay,
And I don't know whether the people who asked those questions are waiting for the rest of the responses to come through. When we went back through, no one asked about the ones that were left blank.
Well,
okay.
and to that
Hold on,
point,
Council Hoyt. Let me
she
finish with
mentioned
Council.
me, so
I know, but I have it. I'm asking Councilor Abbott, and then we can go back. I'm trying to get clarity on the operating budget. So, what I want to do is, and I'll call on you first, Councilor Hoyt, is of those questions that everyone received on the operating budget, do we need to resubmit those back over to the mayor's office to ask for additional clarification? And then give them an opportunity to respond back. We need to give them a couple hours to come back and perhaps provide some additional information or clarity. So I'm just trying to get us a pathway that we can work through. So is that the will of the council, to the questions that were received, identify those that we're comfortable with, and or so then the ones we need additional information from? So,
Mr. President,
hold on, Councilor Hoyt. Trying to get the pathway. We're going to call on you in just a second. Okay. What I want to know is just get a sense of the council. How do you want to proceed at 12:50 p.m.? Do we want to send a set of questions back over to the mayor's office saying we need additional information? Or do you want to sit here and we can just keep talking? So I just want to kind of get a pathway. So the pathway is, what's the sense of the council? The questions that we received, can you identify? Councilor Hoyt, can you just give me a second? I'm gonna call on you, I promise you. I'm just trying to get a sense of everybody. How do you want to move forward?
Mr. Chair, I for one would like to send the questions over rather than continue to sit here and go on and on.
Okay, all right. So Mr. Hilliard, what I'm gonna do is let me call on Councilor Hoyt. Let me hear Councilor Hoyt. Everybody think about it. Then we're gonna come back and we're gonna make we'll ask Councilor Abbott to either submit those back over with Administrator Kidd and Deputy Administrator McDaniel. So Councilor Hoyt.
yes, Mr. Chairman. All of the political hoopla that I hear in people's voices here, I just want to get to the facts. The fact is that we got a budget prepared. John, could you mute your?
Hold on. Yeah, you mute. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Hoyt.
So we have a prepared budget by the mayor, and probably 95% have no justifications. We have not discussed the justifications, and I mentioned that even last week, on several different places, and organizations being funded that that we never even heard of. And so there's a whole lot about this budget that you don't know, and nobody on here knows. because we've not had no justifications for them. And I don't care how many workshops we pretended we had. You still, Congress doesn't do this. The state of Alabama didn't do this. They met and they sat down and discussed. And and it appears we ice skating up here.
Okay.
And I realize this is election year, and then maybe we'd rather be out in the field as opposed to being at City Hall taking care of the business. I understand that, but even when I was up for re-election, I still employed the same process, and the process works. What doesn't work is when you don't go through the budget line item by line item. Now, I'm not an accountant, but I do know how to account. And there's a lot of fluff. There's a lot of deals that already been cut. That's why some of folks are like cheerleaders to not discuss this budget. And I understand that. I wasn't born yesterday. But I speak with my own voice.
Yes, sir. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. The questions that, let's gather a series of questions and let's submit them back. That is the will of the council to the mayor's office for additional information. Let's provide them during the lunch hour an opportunity to respond or come back and give us a briefing with written communication, and we'll go from there. So, Councilor Abbott, if you'll help me out some, and kind of get input from all the council members. Obviously, the Birmingham Zoo is one, and the Port Authority, and what was the other? Port Authority and right. Okay, those are three.
Listen, and let me say this: the Port Authority is not doing anything.
Council Hoyt. Now, when you were talking, nobody interrupted you. Okay. So, Councilor Abbott, so those were three items we were starting. Are there additional items that we can recirculate back?
Yes, sir. The World Trade.
Okay, we said the zoo, the Port Authority, World Trade Center, those are three. Councilor Abbott, you had indicated there were some that had not been answered.
Yeah, there are, and I'm just looking at Chaz Mitchell's memo that is dated Friday, June 25th, that has all of the attachments. And it has in it a list of all the questions from all the council members with the answers. Some of the questions don't have answers, but most of them do, and they are in red ink so that you can't miss the answer. May not like what it says, but you can't miss it.
Can I clarify the blank ones? Because those were actual requests for increases for those particular boards or agencies. But our attempt was we answered all the questions except those that had a financial request for the increase or a new request.
Okay, so all the ones that didn't get answered needed money. And all the ones that did get answered were just answers to questions. Is that what you're
Correct.
saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, well, maybe council members should go back and go through that list again now that we know that. Maybe I missed some of it in the verbiage of your email. But there's quite a bit of information here because there are responses from James Fowler. There are responses from Lester Smith. We've got the resurfacing lists for fall and spring. We've got resurfacing maps and sidewalk maps and lists of what's going to be done. So, a lot of what the council requested was sent to us. It's just, it takes a while to plow through it.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't even finished plowing through it. I haven't pulled up, pulled up all those maps. I've looked at the list and said, But, you know, every council member, every pot has to sit on its own bottom. There's nobody to spoon feed any of us, and we've just got to sit down and do the work.
Okay, so let me ask the body, if we could, communicate to see if we can have, I guess, Mr. Fowler, I guess, well, I don't know, we'll ask the administration to brief. So basically, the council is asking for the information that was submitted over, we need to have a little bit more in-depth understanding of each of those spreadsheets that were provided. Is that what I'm hearing from everybody? A majority? If they provided clarity, Councilor Abbott, I'm just trying to, Councilor Smith, is that what we're needing, is more of a detailed assessment of to explain those spreadsheets in a little bit more detail?
There was a memo that Mr. Fowler included in the response that detailed each map and what was the attachments concerning. It was a 3-page memo. Okay.
And what I'm I think trying to do is happy median is if Mr. Mitchell, I guess, and the mayor, if there could be a, I guess, a briefing or just an overview of what those attachments were, would that get the council members? Is that what I'm hearing? I need everybody to kind of give me some feedback. We're trying to.
Yeah, I think you just need to identify any specific changes anybody wants to make, and then we can recess and discuss those and go from there. But
Okay.
we need to grab hold of the tangible items that people are interested in changing.
Okay. All right. That's what I'm trying to get to. So, Council Abbott, for you, so I just want to make sure for you, Council Abbott, obviously it's the zoo, but also you wanted a little bit more clarity on the spreadsheets that we received. Is that correct for you?
Yeah, and for me, the zoo and Rickwood are the two issues that I think were underfunded, okay?
Okay.
And
All right.
and so I'm concerned about those because I know once we pass the budget, that's the budget. Everybody forgets all the other conversations they had. In fact, the Friends of Rickwood said that they were told just to sign that $50,000 a year contract, and as soon as the economy improved, they'd revisit it. Well, it sounds like the revisit part has been totally forgotten, and it's just, hey, you signed it. You know, you signed it for 3
Okay.
years, so you're stuck with it. So I'm just saying, once the budget is passed, we have no guarantees that anybody's going to do anything.
Okay. Councilor Abbott, that's what we're trying to get a game plan. So we know those. We've said those.
Yeah, and I
All righty.
understand. I don't have a problem with the spreadsheets that were sent, and I'm fine with I learned more from Mr. Fowler than I've learned from anybody in City Hall for a long, long time. So I'm good. I'm just concerned about those two things, and I'm fine.
I got it. All right. I'm trying to hear from the other colleagues, what other areas do we need to submit additional questions, request over to the mayor and his team? So are there others? Councilor Woods, did you have some areas or specifics that we need to submit questions?
What I suggest is if you just if we recess to the call of the chair, but give council 15 minutes, 30 minutes to send any specific issues to you that they want to resolve today. And, we can reconvene, once you sort through that, but we need to list out, what are the issues that we need to, I've heard a handful of tangible ones, but I think we do that recess, work on that, and once some sort of resolution is reached, go from there.
Okay. All righty. So here's what I want to do. Everybody's, it's 1 o'clock now. Let's give everybody 30 minutes to submit any information. 1:30. That information needs to be, Councilor Abbott, you want to kind of be the facilitator, then facilitate that over to the mayor and on additional information that's needed. I will give everybody about 30 minutes to submit information or additional information to you and then submit that on over to the mayor's office.
So you want us to take the 9 members' information and compile it into one request and send it to Mr. Mitchell?
Well, I guess it need to go to the mayor, and then also, I guess, and copy the appropriate, like you've been doing it before. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And Mr. President, I'm just speaking to like if there's issues, if anybody's unsatisfied with something specific, I'm not talking about rehashing everything. Yeah.
No. We're trying to get specifics now. But I was going to let Councilor Addison. She's kind of been sending the information. We try to get it in one person and then spread it out. And so if all the council members, could communicate, it's 1 o'clock now by 1:30, and then submit that over. And then do we want to provide, come back in a couple of hours? That gives, I guess the mayor an opportunity and his team an opportunity to respond back, and we come back later today. We can come back at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and kind of proceed from there. Is that a good pathway forward? Before we adjourn, I do want to take a recess. There were several citizens that had some issues with some of the weed abatements, and I guess, Mr. Clerk, we could just dispose of,
If we can,
we could just get those two, since they've been waiting, and we're sorry, we just got communication on that, but if we could handle that, and then we'll take a motion to recess.
okay, if we can, in order to get to those items, to clear them up, we need to table the 2 items that we're dealing with, and then move on to try to clear those items up and come back and deal with the other items after recess. So we need to table the general.
Okay, so 27 and 28, we need a motion to table those.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, if you can reconsider the consent agenda, Mr. President, and bring those 2 items forward and deal with those, and I guess delete them or withdraw them so that the administration.
Yeah, which 2 items are they? And if we could just ask the administration just to withdraw those 2, that'll be easy.
It's items 10 and 16. On item 10 is property number 520, and on item 16 is property number 264. And I think both of the citizens are online. I don't know if you want to speak with them or not, or just deal with them after they have the administration.
Well, let me ask the chief. I mean, Chief, is there any way that they can communicate with someone in your office and then ask you all to withdraw those 2 specific items and then have communication with, we could provide some, okay. So they need to just, we have their contact information, and then, okay.
Kim, we have
their
to
contact info.
If we can get that contact info, Mr. President, we'll make sure we handle follow-up.
Okay. If you're on the line, do you mind just saying hello to us and give us your name, address, and your telephone number? And then we will, we just need that information. If you're comfortable with us having your phone number, if you're not comfortable with giving out your phone number, perhaps you could just see, are you all comfortable giving out a contact number?
President Parker, I actually do already have the phone numbers of the citizens in question.
Okay, all right, well, Chief, is it okay if Ms. Garner just sends you that information?
Right, Mr. Mitchell and I will follow up with Ms. Kim. We'll get that.
Okay. Well, Ms. Garner, if you could communicate with the chief and with Mr. Mitchell, their contact information and stuff. Okay, and Chief, is okay to withdraw those 2 items that Mr. Frazier mentioned? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So if I can get a motion now, Mr. President, to reconsider the consent agenda, withdraw those items, and then readopt it absent those 2 items.
We just can't just withdraw those 2?
Well, you got to bring the consent agenda back before you in order to get to the item.
Okay.
Motion to reconsider the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Okay, so someone outlined that you're going to withdraw items 510 and 16, with properties 264 and 520, and then we can readopt the consent agenda absent those entries.
Okay, they've been withdrawn, I guess, so now we're ready to
Okay, now I
readopt
need to
the
readopt the
agenda.
consent agenda, correct?
Yeah, we're ready to readopt it.
Motion to readopt the consent agenda?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed, all right.
Okay.
Back where we started, so. you can
Okay,
make a motion.
all righty. So do you want to take a motion to recess to 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock today, 5 o'clock? Is that good? Okay, all right. We'll take a motion to recess till 5.
So move.
Second?
Okay, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 All opposed, okay.
Okay, all right. Thank you all.